Hello there, welcome to One on One. My name is Bridget Otu. When I saw a photo of her with the placard, I thought it was Photoshop. It had to be Photoshop because I had never seen a CJ or a former CJ protesting. But it was important because she made a mark. I have listened to the former CJ of the Supreme Court of Ghana say that she found herself in an institution where silence was considered golden. In her newfound, what I call freedom, where she speaks to the issues she says needs to be spoken to. I want to find out from her what impact she thinks her voice is making. Later on, she will tell us her work with the Institute of Economic Affairs. My guest is the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana and a distinguished fellow of the Institute of Economic Affairs. Her Ladyship, SOPHIA AKUFFO, thank you very much for joining us. And thank you for agreeing to do this.
Yeah.
I want you to take me back to that day when you made the decision to protest. I mean, did you talk to someone? Was there someone who said, oh no, don't do that, don't go out? Just walk me through that day. What made you decide that you would do this?
Well, I think it was rather the previous day.
Okay.
But the day before that previous day, I happened to be watching a news clip.
Right.
And I saw my age group and older with placards.
Right.
And by that time, I was already a bit concerned as to what the exchange, the bond exchange was going to amount to. And
right.
Just wondering. And my bank, well, some bank that I have a small amount at,
right.
They had contacted me asking me to come to their bank to sign documents. And I said I had no intention of doing any exchange because it's a contract.
Right.
But we had been assured that older people were not even involved. For that matter, pensioners and even pension funds, as at that time, and individuals who are of a certain age were not going to be included. So when I saw these people, I was a bit concerned. But the next day, I happened to go to a lunch where the matter came up, and we were talking about it, and I said jokingly, "Oh, I even thought I saw this friend of mine among is it
among
really,
the protesters?
Among the protesters,
right.
and was it her? And then it happened that she is also a niece of the person sitting next to me.
Oh, wow.
And he said, "Oh yes, it was her." And I said, "But why should they be why should she be included?" And then that was when I really found out that it had been announced that people of a set, well, the pensioners,
right.
were individual pensioned bondholders
right.
were also included. And my concern was not so much about myself, because really I didn't have much invested in the government bonds, but I know I had bonds, some government bonds as well, because I left my investments to the investment department of my bank.
Right.
Yes. So I phoned this friend of mine and I said, "I saw you and your cousin says, your uncle says it was you." And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Okay, so is everything okay now?" She said, "No." "Are you doing it tomorrow?" She said, "Yes." I said, "I'll come and join you."
Wow. On the spur of the moment.
Yes, maybe it was on the spur of the moment, but it was simply that to me it was something which was wrong from so many different angles.
In what way was it wrong?
Firstly, you signed an agreement to purchase a government bond.
Right.
I signed as an individual. She signed as an individual. All of them also signed as individuals. And they don't want to exchange it for anything else till it matures, and then they decide whether they're going to renew the investment or they want their monies back. But otherwise, what's the point of contracting? And then so then it was wrong in law.
Right.
Okay? In very simple contract law, it was wrong.
Right.
Yeah, because a contract is made up of an offer and an acceptance. All right. We already have a contract. You are now offering to change the terms. I have to accept. If I have not accepted, you cannot insist on it just because my money is in your hand. You cannot. Right. Yes. So the other thing that was wrong about it was that, in terms of various levels of investments, government bonds are among the most sacrosanct because it is the nation's bond. Bond, the word bond is a bond. It's a bond. Right. I don't know how else.
Bound by that.
Yeah, you're bound by your bond.
Right.
Yes. So if I've purchased not some casual bond of some casual company, even then they are bound by it. But I've purchased the government bond. And now the government is playing fast and loose with the binding nature of the bond and has gagged, sort of shut me up. You take it or leave it, it was beginning to look like. Then I felt, okay, we need the government to we need to make it very clear to the government that, yes, some people may opt to sign up on the exchange. But those who choose not to, don't you dare touch their investments or dare to alter their expectations.
Right.
So if it's supposed to be every month, be the way they've staggered their bonds, every month they should get something. If it's 6 monthly, they should get something in the 6th month.
Right.
And you cannot decide that you're freezing it and you're taking it to 3 or 4 years hence, and then you'll give them something bigger. If you're going to give me 100% interest on it, I choose not to. That's my choice.
Right.
And therefore, you can't say it's better for me. How do you know? These are elderly people. How do you know some of them would even be alive to collect it at the date you've chosen? Okay. I found the whole approach, the whole high-handed
nature
method, very, very unacceptable and very cavalierly. And so I felt, yes, I'm going to join them because I'm joining common cause with them. Okay. Yes. And what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with that? And then you go out, then there's lots of attention because of your presence.
Which was not in my intention.
Absolutely.
My intention was just to be there with my age group. That's all.
Yes. But then you did you not underestimated, anticipate,
one or two cameras there.
And then later on.
Then I had actually turned up with my niece, much younger lady.
Right.
And she said, Auntie, do you notice that more cameras are coming? And then suddenly all kinds of microphones and everything in my face. Yeah, I was surprised. But then I thought, yeah, okay, fine. The public should know that, one, freedom of expression, 2, freedom of contract, and 3, I can now explain to people why I'm doing what I'm doing. Not that I felt I owed anybody an explanation initially. I was just doing it because I disagreed with the method being done. yes.
Are you
being
satisfied
used.
now? I mean,
Well,
given the impact you had.
I know that. Well, they are not back picketing, are they?
No, they are
yes.
not.
There was a brief period,
yes.
But by that time, I was out of the country.
Right.
And so I was in contact with them because I still listen to Ghana news.
Right.
And I said, well, I'm very much there with you, but I'm out of the country.
Okay. But your investors are saying everything is fine. What news have they given you?
So far,
respect of you?
So far, I know they are not picketing anymore.
Absolutely.
So that means that
Your
they're
money is
receiving
safe.
their payments as and when due. Yes.
Was that your first major process? Was that your first process?
Oh, well, you know, growing up as a student in the Achampong days, I mean, protesting was part of being in the university.
Right.
There was one thing or the other to protest about. And sometimes, you know, it was almost like, and that was the attitude of the university authorities in those days. Oh, they're tired. They want to vent of
that's how it was viewed.
Some energy.
Right.
So you protested about one thing or the other. We protested about increase in canteen fees.
Okay.
Even then, it was canteen fees during the vacation because we were being fed for free.
Free, right.
Yeah, so if you stay for the vacation, you will have to pay something extra if you want to eat from the cafeteria. And then I think they also increased vacation residence fee.
Right.
Yes, but that was all.
Okay. And I think I listened to your last interview where you talked about the fact that you would come out to protest if the meaning of marriage is changed, as in a marriage between a man and woman, civil union.
But marriage itself is a particularly ordained transaction.
Right.
Let me put it that way. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be, you know, a man leaves these days they don't even leave them parents.
The parents.
Yeah, but a man makes his contract with a woman, and then they become one.
Right.
And they are joined together as husband and wife, and it's not even supposed to be breakable, except that for years it has been breakable, but under certain circumstances. Right. And if it's a customary marriage, it's also sacrosanct, and it is breakable only with proper ceremony and all that. So to start off with, marriage, it has a particular definition. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to redefine it and say, what, marriage is between two individuals or between individuals,
maybe two men or two women,
between individuals of whatever gender. That's going to be very, very drastic.
Right.
And I can't even imagine it happening in my hometown. Can you imagine it happening in your hometown?
No, that's because yesterday news came out. BBC reported that Pope Francis says they will allow priests to bless same-sex couples. And I'm looking at Ghana here, where we have a huge Catholic population. I'm a Catholic by birth. A huge Catholic population, and we receive support, from abroad. And with this directive coming, do you see pressure on locals? Because I think I've already heard Cardinal Texing, I believe, talk about it, saying that we should be open. We shouldn't criticize. We should allow people to be. Now the Pope says, okay, you can bless same-sex marriage. So what happens when it's here?
Firstly, I'm not Catholic.
Right. Got it.
Okay.
Right. Yes.
But secondly, that's still what the Pope chose. The news item I heard, it was being sort of explained and walked back to where they say the Pope intended it. That was
the first one.
Them.
No. So the first one was 3rd of October, where he suggested that there could be And then the new one that came was on Monday, which was just yesterday, where they said, okay, they could do that, but on a day where there is no civil union, that's one between man and a woman.
Well, whatever exceptions they are coming up with, as far as I'm concerned, we are Ghanaians living in Ghana. And every Ghanaian has a dual kind of identity. Right. You have your what one will call civil identity as a citizen, but you also have your traditional identity. I always say when I go home, even my status is different.
Home where? When you
home,
say?
Akropong.
Okay.
Yes. Right. When there's a family gathering or something, I'm not there as Chief Justice. I'm, and I have a Busia Penny, and there is Omaihene, and so on and so forth. And all those I need to recognize and acknowledge, because that's what makes me a Ghanaian. Yes, and as Ghanaians, we have our traditions. We have our traditional and our customary practices, which certainly do not, as far as I know, in all these almost 75 years of my age, I have not been told that in my custom, men marry men, and women can, and therefore, and I can also choose to marry a woman. I have not come upon that, and I will not accept that either.
But would you agree that society changed as with the people change? And there was a time women could not vote, and yes,
that was civic. That was civic.
Okay.
It has nothing really. It did not disrupt custom, did it?
Okay.
It did not disrupt, because women always have had a voice. At least the customary background I come from, the Queen Mother sometimes, though she whispers, her whisper many times is louder in effect than a screaming man or a bellowing chief.
Right.
Yes. So let's go slow with copying.
Okay.
Let's go slow with copying. In what way is it going to improve us as a people? We have so many other things we need to sort out in Ghana. And we have so many things we need to work on to strengthen what binds us together as Ghanaians. Let's not go and add something else that's going to bring all kinds of disputes into the back streets of our small towns.
But those are also championing based on rights. And that you have a right to express yourself, a right to association.
Right, yeah, but when you can love whoever you want to, and you can call that love whatever you want to call it. Please, if you don't call it marriage. In fact, that's all that I'm saying.
Okay.
And don't also necessarily shove it into my face. Let's face it, there are laws governing man and woman, male and female coming together. There are all kinds of laws and rules governing that. Yes, even in our Criminal Offences Act, we still have on that. So you want to love a dog? Yes, free love, and a goat, and this and that. Really? And we must also remember that I wasn't in God's mind when he put Adam and Eve together, but he did say they should increase, they should multiply and replenish the earth. And you need a male and you need a female to replenish, to fulfill that divine assignment.
Okay.
And you can go Two men can go and one day say, this is our son and this is our daughter, and they'll be carrying a little baby. But it took a male and a female to produce that baby they are carrying. Is that not so?
Right.
I'm yet to see a pregnant man who has been impregnated by a woman. Or, you know, we have...
But now a man can identify as a woman can identify... I mean, they switch roles. I mean, of course, it's not natural. I understand.
And you want Ghana to degenerate and devolve into those levels. That's the way I see it. I don't see it as something that improves humanity. I don't.
Okay.
And if you're going to force it on Ghana, well, I think I will join... I think President Akuffoo also did say that,
right.
that no, keep your whatever you want to give to us, and we will keep our customs and we will keep what we also value. Why should these are other people's values, aren't they?
Right.
Why should we abandon our values and embrace other people's values? Why aren't they busy having polygamy? We have polygamy in Ghana, don't we? Right. We still do. It's not unlawful if it is contracted in a certain way and you don't try to get the best of both worlds and mix their systems. Yes, then it becomes bigamy, which is a crime.
Yeah.
Yes. But polygamy, are we busy? Have we said that unless they agree to the polygamy, there will be certain consequences, dire consequences, which Ghana will mete out to the West or to some country or the other? We don't.
Does that mean you support the anti-LGBTQ bill being, pushed
Frankly,
forward?
I have not read it.
Right.
I only hear snippets
of it.
The snippets that will be in discussions or what Parliament is discussing.
Right.
But why is it being called an anti-LGBT?
Because they say it promotes hate.
But it is called then, something else, isn't it? Proper
human rights, sexual orientation.
That's something. Yes, because it's not for me. It's not a question of whether I promote LGBTQ and whatever they do in the privacy of their homes.
Right.
I refuse to take a position one way or the other, to each according to their own. But in the public arena, they should not expect that I will see them as husband and wife, or all the other ones too, because now it's becoming a very complicated situation, and it's it doesn't end at T. It used to be
Q, there's
at
Q,
T.
There's
Q, and there's what?
Q, I.
I is what?
I think it's
and then there's plus. Now, it used to be one plus. Now it's an infinitude of pluses. And, we have enough confusion among our youth. We have enough confusion not to add whether you're a man or a woman. I don't want my granddaughter to come and ask me whether she should now call me grandpa. Or that I don't want her to also come and tell me that she now wants me to call her my granddaughter. There'll be a problem about that because she looks like a girl.
Okay.
She looks like a girl in every way, and so she's a girl. Don't anybody confuse my granddaughter that she could be something else.
All right.
Yes.
We're taking a break. When we come back from the break, we'll speak to Her Ladyship, former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. She seems to have very high standards when it comes to who should be a lawyer. What has she seen in the crop of talent or crop of lawyers who are coming out that makes her think that, look, we're just churning out too many lawyers? Has that really affected the quality of lawyers we have in this country. And then she can tell us, how do you guarantee, or who ascertains the integrity or the proven integrity of one to be called as the Chief Justice of the Republic? We'll be right back. Welcome back to One-on-One with the former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Her Ladyship Justice SOPHIA AKUFFO. Thank you very much again for the opportunity. You seem to have a very high standard of, an idea of who a lawyer should be. You believe that we're churning out way too many lawyers, and that affects quality. Is that really the case? I thought that should be a compliment. Why are you viewing it in a negative lens?
It's the way you've put it
Okay.
kind of confuses the issue.
Okay. So,
because the emphasis is on quality.
okay.
And if you're talking about what the Ghanaian is entitled to in terms of legal services, what I will say is that every Ghanaian, however humble their estate, is entitled to high quality legal representation.
Right.
And if they have to queue up with 20 other people to get to a top quality lawyer, I think in the end that's better than that every Tom, Dick, and Harry is holding themselves up to be a lawyer and is offering very shoddy legal services to that person, because it is the quality that matters.
Is that what you're seeing in the courtroom? Are lawyers coming in ill-prepared? What is the reason? I want to know what is
I'm no longer inside the court.
But what did you witness?
I used to see
okay.
all kinds of lawyers.
Okay.
I used to see lawyers who come in unprepared. The lawyers who even start arguing a case different from what is in there, because they took the case outside the door.
Oh, they just
Yes,
the case.
and there's that. And then there are the lawyers with hardly any professional ethics, where they can represent siblings against each other, where they can represent a company up to a certain point, and then the matter gets out of hand, and next thing you know, they are representing the person. They are the one even issuing the writ against the person or the company that used to be their client. So there's ethics, and then there is even the knowledge. Yes. And once it became possible for many universities to set up faculties of law.
Right.
Yes. That does not make you a lawyer.
Absolutely.
You're just somebody with a law degree. And then now you need to obtain the professional qualification. And it's like even in medicine, you do applied science up to a certain point, and then you go to medical school to become a doctor.
Right.
And then you have to pass your medical school exams, the qualifying exam. It's the same with accountants.
Right.
You may have got all kinds of 1 in all the mathematical subjects, and you may know everything there is to know about accounting, but it's a profession, and you cannot even call yourself an accountant without having been chartered as such.
Right.
And you can't sign the books of accounts for it to be accepted. And in fact, even with the law, you cannot issue a writ for somebody if you're not a qualified lawyer in a professional lawyer in good standing.
Right.
Yes, because every profession has to protect it's not protectionism. It's not like you're building fences so you can say, oh, we the lawyers. No, that's all gone.
But that's what it looks like.
No, it isn't, and it's not intended to be that. It is intended to be that when somebody is a lawyer, they are able to give professional representation at every level of the court system, and then also even out of court if they are consulted for solicitor. In Ghana, we've combined the two for solicitor services. And when you draw up a lease, you have done all the due diligence that you're supposed to do. So when you append your signature and your professional stamp to that deed of indenture, it carries a certain weight. Unfortunately, we're reaching look at the number of land cases, for example. And the sad thing is that everybody who is claiming to own that piece of land holds a deed.
Sure.
Holds a deed. And invariably, it may turn out that sufficient upfront due diligence was not done. We've reached the point where most lawyers, you come and see them in their chambers and they are ready to go, instead of insisting on seeing all the right documents and having the right searches done before they do it. And maybe I feel very strongly about this because I recall that when I was young, I grew up in small towns because of my father's job as a reverend minister. We moved around a lot, and we were living mostly in the districts rather than the metropolises.
Right.
And I remember that sometimes after vacation, or sometimes all of a sudden you notice that somebody is no longer coming to school. And I particularly remember somebody who was not coming to school. And then one time I went to the market with my mother. At that time, I must have been in about class 2. But I remember it so vividly. And he was playing around in the lorry park. And I said, you don't come to school anymore. And he said, no. My father, me papa bofem, So I'm, class 2. You think his father fell down. And so that's why he's not coming to school. So I said, is he in the hospital? And he said, no, he doesn't have his farm anymore because the lawyer says that he lost the case, So at least he had been kind of briefed. Somebody had tried to give him an explanation. But it didn't really mean much to me, till much, much, much later. And I felt so sad that because of a lawyer, whether the lawyer was good or not, I don't know. But because of a lawyer, somebody did not finish school. Somebody ended school at class 2. I wonder what happened to him. But over the years, one did come across homes that became broken, or school education that got interrupted or completely derailed because Papa Bofem or Mamia Bofem, or they lost their house, or they now have to, life has so drastically changed that now you have to go and help on the farm, or you have to go and help somebody to do something, but you're no longer going to school anymore, And as time went on, and I always like to compare certain things. And I thought, being a lawyer, especially a lawyer, a litigation lawyer, or even a chambers lawyer, a solicitor sort of lawyer. It's like being a doctor, and sometimes it's like being a surgeon. And literally, if it involves land, you've got somebody's future and somebody's property, somebody's wealth in your hands. You don't handle it with care. You've destroyed a home and maybe a generation. Right. If it's a chieftaincy case, you've changed the history of that community. Maybe they've been fighting and fighting, and you did not handle the case properly, so the litigation continues. So people get killed, people get wounded, people lose their properties because of communal conflict. So the work of a lawyer is not just paperwork and big talk. You've got life in your hands, and sometimes literally so. Now we don't have capital punishment anymore. But you know, I started to think of the number of people who were once upon a time executed, whether here or anywhere, or have been in prison most of their adult life, maybe because the lawyer did not give them good representation. So,
but is it from training or a case of personal lack of integrity?
It's both. It's both.
And how does school stop it?
The training has to be also quality training, so that everything, apart from the knowledge, because these days when there were times when there'll be almost 800 people.
Yeah, pass out.
In the class.
Right.
You know, it's not supposed to be like that. How much time does the teacher, the person passing on the knowledge, how much time do they have for the students to hold the sort of arguments and, you know, because we used to wait till after lectures and then you followed your lecturer to the classroom and you say, you said this and that, and I don't agree with you. And the lecturer would have time and say, yes, give me a good reason. Or will say, okay, write me an essay on why you don't agree with me. And you take that essay with them, and the person will actually even mark it and tell you what a lot of bunkum you have written, or that you have really made some good points,
right,
and all that. When you're training, professional training requires a lot of practical, and you do it and then somebody corrects you, and you do it and somebody corrects you. A lot of hands-on. And in some places, you're supposed to be even able to go to court. In some jurisdictions, law students can actually go, in their final year, can go to court under the tutelage of their instructor and be able to handle some, it's like teaching practice as they used to do. Because you cannot handle real-life emergency situations without having been trained in some real-life situations under the eyes of an expert or an experienced person. But if it's just instruction, and you come and sit in court and you just watch what's going on, and that's it, you lose a lot. Okay. And pupillage is not enough to justify mass production. No.
Okay. I want to know your opinion on this public perception of corruption in the judiciary. What, in your opinion, do you think that fuels the public perception of judicial corruption?
I think that sometimes it may be the sort of decisions that come down. A lot of it also has to do with the lack of knowledge on the part of the public too.
Okay.
Yes, because you know a judge is presented with the facts. We have an adversarial system where the judge is not an investigator. The judge is there. You bring your case, and you bring your facts, and then you argue that, therefore, given these facts, this is the law you should apply. Then the other person will say, no, the facts are somehow nuanced or different or whatever, and rather these are the facts. So there will be things like whether each side has proven their case. Okay. And then you look at the proven facts, and then where your own work can sometimes come in is the law. Because they may not have argued all the law before you. But and so you will do your own research. You should. Or you should have a team helping you with the research.
Right.
So that you will know how to apply the law to it. And sometimes if in applying a certain law you came up with, things are going to be so fundamentally affected, you can always call the parties back before you and say, okay, now I've come across this law. Argue. Make submissions to me on the applicability or non-applicability of this law. Yes. So it's a process.
So I don't know if you had the opportunity to follow, what goes on online or social media.
I try not to.
You try not to. Why?
Because people say I look younger than my age.
Right.
Most of it is because I choose my bad news. I don't sit in the middle of the yard and absorb all the news, good and bad. No.
Okay. No, the reason I ask is because of when you talk about maybe the lack of understanding maybe from the public, because there's a perception that, there was a time where there was a count on social media. So when a case goes before the Supreme Court, 9-0. 10-0, it means the minority would lose as long as so. I think
also
there was
a misconception.
So I think the issue of the Asari versus Attorney General, the Judge Kwesi case was another one. Ayeni versus Attorney General. So there are people who are afraid that this may be an outcome of some sort of interference with the judiciary.
I will say that 99% of the time, if the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals comes up with a unanimous decision, it is definitely unanimous, and because the facts and the law lead to that conclusion.
Not because of interference.
Not because of interference. I'm not saying that there's not the possibility of interference. But you have to also remember that you take an oath to become a judge. And that oath is, if you apply your mind to that oath you're taking, it checks you all the time. And I used to, whenever I would administer oath, I would tell them that that's been added to St. Peter's checklist, whether you lived by it or you didn't. So be careful. Mm-hmm. Yes. So there's that. But then there's also sometimes, I think it was Lord Denning, he said, if a judge can be right, a judge can also be wrong. That is why you have appeal processes as well.
But Supreme Court is the ultimate.
Supreme Court is the ultimate, and there is also the possibility of a review, but the review will be on the law. Mm. Did you fail to apply an applicable law which would have made a difference? Or did you sort of misapprehend the facts? Or maybe a new fact which was not available. It's not because of the laziness of the lawyers that nobody knew of this fact, but this fact has come up. You know, sometimes it happens, you know, especially property inheritance cases. Some old person dies, and after they open their things, then they see some old will, which nobody knew about, which changed so many things, and maybe the case had been in the court so many times and things like that, yes. So such evidence can make a difference, or maybe it was a contract, or it could be something, yes.
So in the public...
But in terms of, you see, when somebody goes to court and they think the judge is biased one way or the other, it's not as though they are helpless. If you truly believe the judge is biased, you can actually petition the Chief Justice. Even sometimes, no decision has been made yet, but you see the judge's demeanor, the way the judge is comporting him or herself, and the things.
So you think they play to the gallery, to the public? So, for instance, in the case of, say, the Judge Kwesing, in the public's mind, this man is being frustrated. He's not able to go to his constituency. They say come to court every single day. Why is the court being so mean? I mean, I'm trying to walk in the mind of the everyday Ghanaian to understand. Yes, how does that case? Okay.
You can also petition the Chief Justice.
Right.
Of course, you petition. You set out the reasons why, one, you think the judge is biased, or two, that your case started at such and such a time. These are the critical elements in this particular case. Right. And every time you go, for no reason, the judge adjourns the case. The Chief Justice will do some sort of investigation and find out. And the Chief Justice even has the power. If it's and that is why sometimes there are certain cases which it's given to a judge who has no other thing to do, no other cases. No other cases are filed before that judge's court. So the judge can just finish that particular case, yes. I've been in an election case, well, I think that was more of a party nomination of somebody, right. of president, of the person who later on became President Liman.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And I think just a week before the cutoff date for parties filing their presidential nominations, a party member brought an action against the nomination of President Liman. And I remember that case, I was a very young lawyer then, working with a lawyer to whom the brief was brought on behalf of the plaintiffs. Yes. And the case came before Justice Kranting-Addo of very, very blessed and beloved memory. Yes. And she decided that, okay, the vacation is coming, and she has already agreed with the Chief Justice that she will sit, not as vacation judge, but she will sit on that case, and she will sit it till it finishes. So that day, that case, we finished it within a week. Okay. Why? Because somebody was trying to play some kind of game, right. And the justice system should not be allowed to be used to play those sort of games. Yeah. So she finished, and I became completely besotted with that lady, because 8:30 we're there, we're starting. 12:30, 20 minutes break, And then we will continue till 4:30
Right.
every day. And we finished the case, and she delivered judgment. Again, and the plaintiffs won that the nomination process was not according to the party's constitution. But at least the party also had some hours to correct their processes and go and file the nomination so that their nomination was accepted. Yeah. Yes. So there's a lot that a judge can do in terms of case management. And when a judge is not properly managing a case, and it becomes frustrating. If it's well justified, the Chief Justice can make all kinds of orders as to how, not to what should happen to the decision. No, the Chief Justice cannot say what the outcome should be.
Sure.
But the Chief Justice can give directions as to the case management and everything. I sometimes would ask certain judges who were delaying, okay, give me your completion plan. Yes.
Okay.
And things like that. Yes.
So there is judicial corruption. What are steps being taken to it?
There is some elements, some amount, but it is for people to take steps to draw attention when it happens. But we whisper. It's like people will be whispering about adultery, you know, and even when they have some cogent evidence, they will say, I'm too known, so I will not go and tell. Well, then don't talk about it. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
Yes. If you know of a judge who took a bribe, talk. If you know of, if you think your case has been compromised or that the judge is biased, you can make your application to the court. And even sometimes, even after sometimes people will bring application even to the Supreme Court that a case should be moved from a judge because they suspect the judge is being biased. There are all kinds of orders. And the other thing is that from the district court, which normally people call the magistrate court, the district court, all the way to the Supreme Court, you really don't need a lawyer. You, on the other hand, you have to remember that there's an adage that the person who represents him or herself has a bad lawyer. Okay, but you can't say that you can't afford a lawyer, and therefore that's why you did not pursue your right. Okay. Yes.
My last but one question, is for one to be called to the bench, to be a judge, you are supposed to have a high moral standard and also proven integrity. What mechanism do you put in place? Does the court put in place to ensure that these persons we are calling possess these qualities?
The method in Ghana includes where the person lives, what the community know or say about the person. Okay. That investigation normally is even done on your blind side. Okay. It's done by the security services. Mm-hmm. Yes. And then there is your output, either as a lawyer. You know, how do they know you in court? And you can sometimes also submit some of your legal submissions if you're being considered fresh from the bar itself. Right. Otherwise, your judgments. There are some judges who take the easy way out and they will say, granted, not granted, granted, not granted. And I would always tell them, write the reasons, right, because one day you will need judgments to help you in your elevation. Yes. So that will be the profession, your skills. Yes. But there are a lot of other methods that are now being used, particularly for for appointments to the superior courts, whereby if there's, let's say there's going to be 7 vacancies in, well, there's going to be a vacancy
Sure.
or vacancies in a particular superior court, it's advertised. And it is advertised here as well. If you go on the Judicial Service website, you will see any adverts, yes, and they will give you what the requirements are.
Okay.
And I don't know about now, because it's since 2019, I have not been a judge.
Okay.
And I'm leaving them to mind my own business. But if it's, let's say, to the High Court, you're even going to sit an exam.
Okay.
And then you will have an interview. If it's to the Court of Appeals, and then you need also, you will be getting inputs. If you used to be you're currently, let's say, a circuit court judge, a magistrate, lawyers who have appeared before you before can also send in their views to the Judicial Council. Okay. Yes. And then the Bar Association itself will also have its views. And your peers will also have their views. But I believe that we need to make it a bit more scientific, more...
In what way? When you say scientific, more transparent?
More transparent in the sense that the screening process should be... in a presentation I made here at the IAA, I advocated, because I wasn't even inventing the wheel, I assure you. I guess. Because there are now systems in the Commonwealth, which is what we know, where they try to minimize the personal inclinations and maximize stakeholder and public participation and so on and so forth. And also through the mechanism of an independent appointments authority. Yes, which would be made up of people on the bench, people at the bar, a handful of members of the public, stakeholders, NGOs, representatives, and things like that. And so far, I believe it's been working pretty well. Okay. Yes.
Share with us your work with IAA, the Institute of Economic Affairs, as a distinguished fellow. What specifically are you doing with the IAA?
Oh, well, to sit here and talk to the media.
So that's the short answer.
That's part of it.
Right.
And then
is it fun? Is it relaxing to talk to them, to share your opinion on things, on otherwise, in an area where you looked at law and not your opinion?
Oh, but normally it's not so much about myself, but it will be like last week and last 2 weeks. Right. It was because the IEA has taken a stand on the lithium agreement. Right. Yes. Right. And so in coming up with the press statement, it was a group work. Everybody goes and does their research, and then we meet and everything. It's very much of a collegial place. Sure. Yes. And but I'm still going on with more research on judicial appointments, on how to build and how to strengthen the judiciary. Okay. Yes, and a lot of it also has to do with public perception. Yes, because when people think that there's corruption, there's this, there's that. A lot of it, sometimes it's the perception. And so how one deals with perception. And when you're doing that, even how the appointments are made, you look at that. How judicial discipline is dealt with, you look at that. You look also I'm also looking at, people talk about, the Supreme Court, they can always be expanding it just to plant people in it, and so on and so forth. that's really neither here nor there. The point is that there are other constraints that make it difficult to put a cap on the number of Supreme Court judges, so long as the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court is also general. Okay. It's general in the sense that every case that has gone through the Court of Appeal potentially can land at the Supreme Court. Yeah. So whether it's even raising a novel point of law in Kenya, if the matter that went before the Court of Appeals did not raise any new point of law of public interest, it doesn't qualify for appeal. Right. Yes, because somebody will always lose in an adversarial system. Okay. And will always feel they didn't understand me, they didn't listen to me properly. I can have another bite at the cherry. But so long as we have that system here where you can take another bite at the cherry after the Court of Appeals, then you cannot cap the Supreme Court, to 9? What if one person is not well, or 2 or 3 are not well? Most are advanced in age as well. And then there's also workload. And you need to rotate the distribution of the workload in such a way that people are not overburdened at any given point in time. But I believe that practically every week there's a couple of judgments being delivered. Right. In the Supreme Court. Okay. Yes. The Chief Justice's position is over the entirety of the justice system. Sure. So the Chief Justice is normally described as Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana. Yeah. The Supreme Court is just one court. Right, I understand. Yes. In some places, the Chief Justice is the President of the Supreme Court only, and there will be a Chief Justice for another segment. Right. Yes. Sure. But in Ghana, from the magistracy all the way to the Supreme Court, that's the judiciary. Okay. And that is headed by the Chief Justice. And it is the administration of the judiciary is done by the Judicial Service, not the civil service. And so the Chief Justice also is the head of the Judicial Service as well.
Right. And in your work with the Institute of Economic Affairs, and you took a position on the lithium, that we signed a Gettysburg, colonial type of agreement, as we have done with other natural resources. The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, did come out to say, look, we are satisfied with the agreement. We were thorough. We did our research, and this is the best that we could have. And that was the last interview that he granted. Will IEA be coming out again, or does it end here? What next, since they are adamant in reviewing the agreement? The IEA, we've put the matter into the public domain. Right. The matter is squarely in the court of Parliament, whether they're going to ratify or not ratify. Right. The minister doesn't have to convince IEA one way or the other. Right. I should very well hope so, that he did his due diligence before appending his signature. Right. But all that IEA is saying is that model, the model we're using now, is rather passé. Right. And it's not. And so if he keeps saying it's the best that could be done, it begs the question, as compared to what? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So maybe before Parliament, he will show them as compared to what, and what he compared it to before arriving at this formula. Because this formulation is just increasing percentages. But that's neither here nor there. All we are saying is that it's about time that
we move away from this. We are pathetic pickaninnies who know nothing. So, Mr. Whiteman, here, we have this. We don't even know what to do with it. So you come, you do all the thing, you do all the work, and then you give us something. No, we are way, way, way past that. Engineers, we have them. Surveyors, we have them. Those who are chemical engineers, many, many, many. I bet even the company, they are selling this spodumene to. I'm sure they've got Ghanaian experts working there in Australia and in the US and everything. So when will we finally grow up? Maybe that's my last statement.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us, Chief Justice, Her Ladyship, Chief Justice, former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Ghana.
The former Chief Justice of Ghana.
Former Chief Justice of Ghana, and a distinguished fellow of the Institute of Economic Affairs. Thank you so much for talking to us.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate your time. Right then. And thank you very much for watching.